I'm Richard with EV4U Custom Conversions. Well, today we're going to do something that we've been putting off for a very long time, and that is installing the rear disc brakes on the Karmann Ghia. So we're going to update the rear brakes with a MP rear disc brake kit. This will improve our braking performance, and so stay with us. We'll give you an overview of installing rear disc brake on the Karmann Ghia. And so we were kind of pushed to do this finally, and that yesterday I discovered that we have a rear wheel cylinder that is leaking. So left a little puddle on the shop floor, and so today is the day. So join us as we upgrade the rear brakes on our 1974 Karmann Ghia with an MP rear disc brake kit. Well, here it is. It's all contained in one little box, and so we'll go ahead and lay out all the parts, see what's included. And then the way we'll proceed is we're going to do one side at a time, and we'll talk about all that. So let's lay it out and see what we have. Okay, so what it looks like we have here, we've got the emergency brake cables, we've got our discs. We've got our brackets for our calipers. We've got our calipers. We've got some brake line, flexible brake lines. We've got pads and a box with looks like some hardware and some gaskets, all our miscellaneous parts. And of course the instructions, which we'll now review before we get started. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chock the front wheels, because we don't want this thing to roll, because we're going to have it jacked up and on jack stands. So once we chock the front wheels, we're going to remove the rear hubcaps on this vehicle so that we can access the rear axle nut as well as the lug nuts. All right, here we are on the driver's rear wheel. This is the one that has the wheel cylinder that's leaking. This is the tire we'll show you the process on, or the wheel. We're actually going to be doing, both of them, but we'll basically going to show you the process on one. So, also going to be using this job, I've got some brake clean as well as brake fluid, which we're going to need after, to bleed the brakes. So I'm going to pull the hubcap off, and there's a tool that they have that is used for doing that. It's got a couple tangs on it, and do it this way. We'll go in a couple little holes here, and then just pry it off. Right now, let's go flinging on the floor and bouncing around. So that now exposes our lug nuts and our rear axle nut. So the next thing will be to remove this cotter pin and then loosen this nut. Now, the way to do that, for a lot of people is they take a large breaker bar and a piece of pipe, and you basically stand on it to get enough leverage to break this loose. They're torqued to like 250 foot-pounds, and so it takes a lot to get them loose. I do it a little bit differently, and I'll show you that in a moment. Once we remove the cotter pin, then we're going to remove the, we're not going to remove, we're going to loosen it up, the axle nut. And for that, I use a 3/4 inch pneumatic impact wrench, just for loosening them up. Installing them, we'll use the breaker bar with the torque wrench. But to get it loose, I find this is quicker and easier. As is the case sometimes, this thing has been fighting me. The car key on this side, or pin, fought me. The other one comes right out. This one, we were able to get the nut off with the 3/4 inch drive impact wrench. Other side, it wouldn't budge it. We had to resort to a torque amplifying wrench to get that thing off. So now that they're both loose, we got them on there snug, but not to where we can't easily get it off. So we're going to leave that on for right now. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to jack up the back of the car and put it on some jack stands, just to get the wheels off the ground. And as I always do, I'm going to leave the jack sharing the weight. So the car won't just be on the jack stands, it'll be on the combination of the jack and the jack stands for extra stability. So let's do that right now. Well, you can see brake fluid. So yeah, wheel cylinder and that wheel is gone. And so that's kind of what forced our hand to finally do what I should have done a couple years ago. That is convert this to disc brakes. So anyway, now we're going to pull the drum off. All right. Save the box that the other stuff came in. We'll put this in it. Brake fluid everywhere, so we got to clean that up. So next, looks like it was leaking out of this seal over here. So next what we'll do is we'll remove all of the drum brake components. All right. So, put some light on there for you. So what we did is we removed the emergency brake cable right here. There's a nut right there that we removed. Removes the bracket, allows us to pull that out. Like I said, we removed the shoes and the springs and so forth. Removed the brake line from the back side of the slave cylinder. And so now we will remove the bearing cap and we'll be able to remove the backing plate once that's removed. So we'll pull that off and go from there. So what I've done, removed the backing plate, took off the old O-ring, put a new one on, and then we're putting the bracket on. We put a new seal on our bearing cover. And we'll reinstall that. I'll go look up the torque spec for the bearing cover, and we'll torque that down. Next, we're putting the disc on, and we're going to tighten up the axle nut, but of course we can't torque it to full torque. We're just tightening it up, and then once the wheel is back on and so forth, then we'll torque it to the proper spec. Next, we're going to install the caliper. There's a left and a right. This brand, they happen to be labeled, but it's with the bleeder facing up. This is going to mount to the bracket on the back side of our disc here. It's just hard to get a camera shot at, and I'm kind of on a time crunch, so I'm not going to give you a close-up of these things. But anyway, we're going to mount the caliper next. All right, here it is with the wheel on. I was just checking clearance to make sure that the rim cleared the caliper. Since these are aftermarket rims, they were on the vehicle when I purchased it. But I just wanted to make sure there was clearance. So it looks good. So we can pull the rim back off here real quick, just to give you a quick view of what it looks like. Installed here. So that's the new disc brake setup. I don't have the parking brake installed yet. That's a matter of disconnecting it at the brake lever, pulling the cable out, feeding a new one in, hooking it up and adjusting. But this is the caliper and the pads, everything in place. Yeah, it looks like it's going to work pretty good. Did have to use the shim that they send in order to get the disc to clear the caliper once the caliper was on. It wanted to rub without it. So there you have it. Just a quick overview, not a step-by-step. And so now I got to get cranking because I got to finish this up, because this is my ride home today. And it's getting late. So just a quick overview of installing disc brakes on, either a Bug or a Karmann Ghia. This year Karmann Ghia had front disc brakes from the factory, so we've just added the rear discs, so now it has four-wheel disc brakes. And hopefully this will improve the braking. One of the things that disc brakes do is they increase the drag. You can adjust drum brakes to where there is no drag. Disc brakes, by design, always have a little bit of drag. So with an electric car where rolling resistance is important, this does affect us negatively in a small way. All right, well, here's what we did off camera. I kind of got in a time pinch. It was getting late yesterday. I had way too many interruptions, and good old Carmen here was my ride home, and so I wanted to get her done. So what we didn't show was the bleeding of the brakes, installing the parking brake cables, putting the wheels back on, and then once the wheels were back on, everything, lowered the car down, and then torqued the axle nuts, put the new Carter pins in or keys in, and then after we torqued the axle nuts, and then torque the lug nuts, replace the hubcaps, and take her for a test drive. And everything worked just fine. So I was fortunate I got it done in time to get home at a decent hour. So anyway, this concludes our overview of installing the MP rear disc brake kit on the Karmann Ghia. And like I said, it's virtually the same thing if you got the Bug or the VW thing. Pretty much the same thing. There are a few little differences if you've got a swing axle rear end versus the IRS like this one, but they're minor differences. So it's not too bad of a job. It takes more time to bleed the brakes than it does to do everything else just about. But, so now I've got, you know, brakes that don't require adjustment, that shed water, shed heat, just a superior braking system. And so that's about it on this vehicle as far as mechanical things. Maybe someday we'll restore it like we did the Bug, but for now, she's running fine. And stay tuned for upcoming videos on the conversion of this 1973 VW thing. I'll see you then.